Okay, take two. So, Joe, what exactly happened with Michael's court case concerning the TriMet ticket yesterday?
Well, Individuals for Justice has a tradition that if you go to court and we hear about it, we go and sit with you so you're not alone, and we'll buy you coffee or something like that. So it's a tradition.
Cool.
So I went down and I met with Mike, and we went to courtroom 602 in the county courtroom. Now, we walked in and we sat in the front. And about 10 minutes before the court was scheduled to open, about 6 transit cops walked into the courtroom and sat down in the jury box on the other side of the bar, which stunned me. I've never seen this before in my entire life, that cops would do that. So they sat down, and then they got up and they started calling out names. And what they were doing was they were going through all the tickets for that day of people that didn't have their passes on TriMet. They took them outside and they said this to them: the ticket is $175. If you plead no contest, we will drop it down to $80. Most of the people said, oh, okay, we'll do that. Now, the problem here is, number one, TriMet has no jurisdiction in the courtroom. They have no authority in the courtroom. What the hell are they doing running the court?
Right.
So I yelled at one of the police officers sitting in the jury box, what are you doing? And you have to stop intimidating people. And she looked at me and she said, get out. And I told her to go to hell because she's got no jurisdiction. And I said, you see a train coming through this courtroom? Do you see a bus coming through this courtroom?
Yeah.
I said, you can get me if there's a bus or a train, but there's nothing here. And this is not TriMet property. You have no jurisdiction. Shut up. So then she came over to me and she said, I'm going to see the judge. And I said, great, tell him Joe said hello. So the judge came in and looked at me and took a seat and didn't say a word.
So the judge didn't kick you out after she tried to evict you?
And not only that, but they dropped the charges on Mike. So his charges were completely dropped.
Awesome.
So then we went outside, and because I made that statement really loud, there was a guy that came up to me and he said, hey, he said, what they said to me was that because I claimed that the machine was broken and I couldn't get a ticket, they said they were going to charge me with perjury if I didn't cop a plea to the $80 fine.
Oh.
That's intimidation, straight out intimidation. So I called the presiding judge and asked what the hell was going on. I talked to the presiding judge's clerk, and you wouldn't believe it. He took this attitude that was business as usual, that TriMet kind of runs the court. Right? What? They have no authority.
Yeah, where does it say that in
anything.
the city code? Where does it say that in the city charter? That
Nowhere.
TriMet can run a court?
It's like me running the court. I have no authority running the court. So apparently the judges are giving these jerks this authority to do it because the DA representative was sitting right there watching the whole thing going on.
Oh my God.
And I looked at him and I said, what are you doing? You're the one that's supposed to be copping.
They should cite the cops. Yeah.
So I said, this is crazy. This is like a third world country.
Yeah.
So I went outside and people were coming up to me and they said, well, they told us that we were going to be found guilty if we didn't plead to the $80 instead of the $175, and they were going to charge us the $175, and the judge would get really upset if we asked for a trial. And that's what they were all there for, to ask for a trial. So that's the story, and so I sent a letter to the presiding judge asking for an internal investigation and demanding that all the tickets, at least on that day, that were issued be rescinded.
Excellent.
And the police officers that didn't bother to show up be held in contempt and charged $175.
What about the officers that were there? Shouldn't they be charged something too, like a citation?
No, they should be told that they are, number one, not allowed to go on the other side of the bar. That's a restricted area for lawyers and judges and witnesses and people that are at the moment in trial. So if you're a defendant, you can be up there if it's the trial going. But you can't have 6 cops in the jury room because the image looks like they're the jury.
Right.
So what kind of image are they sending? I mean, it's bizarre.
Intimidation, sir.
It's
That's right.
total intimidation, and it's got to stop. So
Absolutely.
I wrote that letter to the judge, and I sent copies to a bunch of people, the county, and tomorrow I will be speaking before the county board and telling them this story.
Excellent.
So I'm sure that there's a couple of members on that board tomorrow will have their mouths open because my mouth was open, and I've been in dozens of courtrooms from federal to county to cities. I mean, I have never seen anything like this. This is the most kangaroo, bizarre laziness on the judge's level, on the prosecutor's level. They just let these jerks run this court, and it's got to stop because they have no jurisdiction.
Absolutely. This is Hiram Asmus for Film the Police, interviewing Joseph Lone Vet Walsh, who is a regular badass here at City Hall. Be aware, people, please tune in for future correspondence on what just happened. We're going to follow this through and make sure that these cops quit intimidating TriMet writers. Thanks again for watching Film the Police, PDX.com.